Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio, so today I get the pleasure of showing you Golisopod GX, which is very exciting because it's only been one day since we got to look at Charizard GX. Though the big difference between Golisopod and Charizard, this one looks really good. It's a stage 1 grass Pokemon, so we've got Forest of Giant Plants where we can evolve it up nice and quickly, although do bear in mind that there's a decent chance Forest of Giant Plants will rotate pretty much as soon as Burning Shadows is released, although we will still have it in the expanded format. He's got 210 HP, which is standard. Stage 1 GXs have 200 or 210. 210's nice. He's weak to fire, which is a bit annoying because of the old Volcanion problem. And he is hitting weakness on cards like Lycanroc and Lapras, which are likely to see a fair bit of play. The one thing I really don't like about Golisopod is the retreat cost of 3, because as we're going to see in a minute, we really would be so much better with a retreat cost of 1 here. But we don't have it, so there's no point worrying about it. The other thing which you need to bear in mind with grass decks at the moment, do not sleep on the promo Lurantis, doing an extra 20 damage for all of your grass Pokemon's attacks, and fire as it happens, because it is really quite good, and of course it does work with Forest of Giant Plants as well. Now, the real headline for this Pokemon is the first attack. It does 30 damage for 1 energy. That's not good. That's fine. But if it became active this turn, it does 120 for 1 energy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very good. Now, I've seen a few early comments from this on the internet. I've seen people saying stuff like, oh, well, that's all well and good, but you only get to do that once. Oh, no. Because this basically makes it into a challenge, and the challenge is, can you get Golisopod into the active for the first time every turn? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. Assuming it's not rotated, we've got Zoroark. You stand into the active and then use a float zone for free retreat, and then every turn you jump in the active, retreat, and then he's become active for the first time. And this is basically what we were doing with Mega Sizzle back when people were playing it, so this is a viable thing. You can use Escape Rope or Switch and combine that with a free retreater. You switch to a free retreater and then you, wait for it, retreat them for free, and really here what I'm thinking is the new promo Tapu Koko. He does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon for a single double colourless energy. Yes, I'm aware that's a little bit of an oxymoron. It's a good card. You're going to be playing double colourless anyway. It's something that I would recommend quite strongly. You could even here use a combination of Rainbow Energy and Manaphy, but I do fear that's just a little bit too clunky. The other thing you can do is just switch between 2 Golisopod. Maybe you pop a float stone on them and just retreat from one to the other, although do bear in mind that if you're using float stone you won't be able to use choice band. You can use stuff like switch, but rather than having a free retreater, just switch from one to the other, and this is where the retreat cost really comes in annoyingly. Because a retreat cost of 1 would mean attach an energy, attack, retreat to a new one to whom you've just attached an energy, and just repeat until you've won the game, but that's not really too much of an option here, which is a slight pain. But here's the thing, 120 damage will basically 2-hit KO anything. And if they're weak, think things like Lapras, they will be 1-hit KO'd. But we're not stuck at 120 damage here. You stick a choice band on this bad boy, he's doing 150 for a single energy. It's pretty good. Then you pop 1 promo Lurantis down, you're doing 170 for a single energy. Then you pop a second promo Lurantis down, you're doing 190. And let's be clear about this. Especially with Forest of Giant Plants, I do not believe that a choice band and 2 promo Lurantis is particularly difficult to get working here. I don't think this is prohibitive. I'm not talking about getting 4 stage 2s out. I'm talking about a tool and 2 stage 1s. Heck, you could even then add a Professor Kukui or a third Lurantis and do 210 damage. That's enough to KO EXs, basic GXs, stage 1 GXs. For a single energy. And that's what's really ludicrous about this card, ladies and gentlemen. You could theoretically, and it's not all that difficult, play Forest of Giant Plants, evolve him up, 1 Lurantis, Choice Band, single energy, 170 for a single energy on the first turn of the game. Something like an Yveltal is going down in 1 hit for 1 energy on your first turn. Although do remember that if you go first, you're not allowed to attack on your first turn. I mean, let's take something like Garbodor. Well, you pop 1 energy, you're doing 120. That's an instant KO on a stage 1 for a single energy. And if you've been playing the Pokemon trading card game for a while, you will know that getting 1 stage 1 out with a single energy card attached is not the most difficult thing in the world, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to use a lot of items to do it, which means Garbodor's not hitting for very much, and you're getting a 1-hit KO on Garbodor. Oh no! They've brought out their Tauros GX. Well, that's alright. 1 Lurantis, Choice Band, you're 1-hit KOing that as well. This is an obscenely good attack, ladies and gentlemen. Do not sleep on how ridiculous this attack is. It is monumentally good. And even if Forest of Giant Plants rotates out, you're still talking about a stage 1. You can still use Wally and a single energy and be hitting for 120 on the first turn of the game for a single energy. Find me another Pokemon that will do that. The second attack is alright, but it's kind of a little bit weird. It's underwhelming because it's really overpowered by how good the first attack is. You add a double colourless, so you do Grass double colourless, 100 damage, and during your next turn it takes 20 damage less. Now what I really like about this is all you need to do is add a double colourless to the original energy and off you go. And don't forget you've got muscle dumbbells coming out in Burning Shadows, link to that in the description. So now you've got 250 HP, but remember of course you've got to choose between muscle dumbbells or Choice Band. Although don't be afraid to use Field Blower to choose between them and switch between them. 250 HP, but you're taking 20 less damage next turn, so actually you've essentially got 270 HP. And let's not forget that you can use Lurantis GX to put the extra energy on here. And this attack weirdly reminds me of the Jumpluff from Heart Gold Soul Silver. Most of the time you use Mass Attack for big KOs, but if your opponent is in range you would always use Leaf Guard instead, just to get some extra and completely free damage reduction the following turn. Here, as long as you've got the double colourless energy to attach, if you can get the KO using the second attack, then you do, just for the extra fun time. And then we get the GX attack. 150 damage switch to your bench. Now, first of all, it's got the same attack cost as the second attack, and you know I'm a big fan of this. I hate having to add extra energy to do your once per game GX attack. And then you switch into something, preferably a wall like Wobbuffet or Tauros. This would work very much like my boy Donphan, except it's a once per game. But what I really like about this attack is that Lysander is likely to get rotated, which means that once you switch to the bench, it's less likely you're going to be pulled into the active and KO'd. And if you switch into a Wobbuffet, then your opponent cannot use Lycanroc Midnight Form, who's naturally going to be a replacement in some decks for Lysander, because their ability will be blocked. And here, really, it's a case of, well, I can't win the game this turn, but my opponent can win the game next turn. I really see this as a late game GX attack. Your opponent's about to win by taking their final 2 prizes, so you take a knockout with this, switch to the bench, so your opponent cannot take a 2-prize knockout. They have to take a 1-prize knockout, giving you 1 more turn to win the game. That's what I see with this attack, and I like it a lot. But do not sleep, ladies and gentlemen, on the Golisopod from Guardians Rising, which I said, and I've done a video about this, I'll try and link that to the description if I remember. I'll be good, I'll remember. And I said about this at the time, it's a really good Pokemon, but only in some matchups. So again, you've got a stage 1 grass, decent HP, Forest of Giant Plants, all of that. Your ability means you take 30 less damage from attacks, and with Muscle Dumbbells that gives you an effective HP of 200, which is really quite ludicrous. And for a grass double colourless, you do 80 damage, meh, 150 to an EX or a GX. Now you're talking, because Choice Band puts it up to 180, 1 Lurantis puts it up to 200. You can see where I'm going with this. You can add with Choice Band and Lurantis. So here, This is really good against EX or GX heavy decks, but you pop it against a non-GX deck like Garbodor and you're getting crushed. Well, remember the rule. You can play 4 Golisopod GX and 4 Golisopod in the same deck, should you so wish, although remember you can only play 4 Wimpod. So, where you need to use a GX, you use it. Where you don't, you can use this one. Yes, this one needs a double colourless, but if you're running low on energy, you can just use a GX instead. It only gives up 1 prize. You can switch between them. I really, really like this card. And I'm struggling more than I have for a while to give it a score here. So, I'm gonna hedge my bets, and I'm gonna go a little bit wussy here. And I'm gonna give it between 4 and... No, I'm not. I'm gonna give it 5 Wassies. It's a 5 Wassie card. Sorry, that wasn't actually done for dramatic effect on my notes. I'm saying it's a 4 Wassie card. But you know what? You can evolve it straight away turn 1, and you can realistically do 170, 190 damage for a single energy. This isn't like Charizard GX, where you can do 300 damage if you can get 5 energy on a stage 2. It's easy to evolve, it's a single energy, it does nuts damage. You know what? I like the second attack, I like the GX attack, but that first attack is insane, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not doing it, I'm going 5 Wassies. I have spoken. Now, if you think I spoke incorrectly, that's what the comment section is there for. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter @TheWassie. The most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.